Yeah.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Armani. We got the panel from last week, Justin and Joseph. We might have two extra people coming on, Austin and Thomas. They'll be coming in. They'll just come in between the podcast or whatever. We got a special episode for you guys tonight. Obviously, we're going to do our usual recaps of this weekend's racing, which there was a lot of racing to talk about this weekend. But we also got a debate on leeching, and not just Cup guys and Xfinity trucks, but Xfinity truck regulars going to Canaan and ARCA. We got plenty to talk about there. We're also going to delve in a little bit in the F1 team order discussion. So let's get right to it. So let's start off with the weekend review, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend we really saw a lot of racing going on from the supercars at Phillip Island all the way to the NASCAR Cup Series at Richmond, Virginia, to the West Coast, Long Beach, California, and overseas from the Pacific to Shanghai in China for the Grand Prix 1000th total Grand Prix for the Formula One World Championship. And this has certainly been a weekend to remember for racing for many reasons. Justin, let's start off with Richmond and NASCAR. What do you think about the Xfinity race?
I think it was quite good. It was like there was battles, and we had quite a lot of drivers battling at the same time.
And it came down to Cole Custer getting the win, and Christopher Bell had a good comeback, but it wasn't enough. And on to the Cup Series, we all thought Kyle Busch was going to make it run to his seventh and total win at Richmond and third consecutive in a row. But the setup didn't go too well. He led early in the race, but couldn't kept it off.
Yeah, he had the penalty on pit road, the speeding on exit. He sped off the pit road and he couldn't catch up. And Joe Logano and Clint Boyer were in the battle to win Martin Truex Jr. for that win.
And Logano had a late run, but it wasn't enough. Martin Truex Jr. gets the win. His first for Joe Gibbs Racing, and his first win since Kentucky of last July.
And his first at a short track.
That is true.
Yeah, his first short track win. And also, again, Hendrick went not the decent finishes. 12th was their highest car. But they didn't do good, and Bowman still 21st in the standings.
Bowman had a rough race once again, and not just him, but someone who we've really been surprised at his rough runs. Kyle Larson last year versus Kyle Larson this year have been two polar opposites.
Yep.
He is once again outside the top 10. He DNF'd really early, didn't have much of a race.
Yeah, he cut a tire after contact, and then he cut another left rear tire, and damage was really severe on that car.
Never recovered.
Yeah.
Next race is Talladega, because we do have to get into our debates quicker, so we're going to make this a quick discussion about NASCAR. Talladega is the next race on the calendar, and the 2.6 miles super speedway will hit its 50-year anniversary since the maiden Talladega 500 in 1969, and of course, it has evolved into Daytona's bigger sized brother. And for many reasons, there's differences.
Daytona.
There's differences versus similarities that you have at Talladega versus Daytona. Let's talk about one of them, going 4 wide. Much easier.
Yeah,
sometimes 3 wide at Daytona is okay, doable, but 4 wide is like forbidden.
Like 4 wide at Talladega is really tight. We've seen it 2016 with Chris Buescher flipping. They went 4 wide down the back straightaway. They were going like 4 wide is not usually the best thing at Talladega. Sometimes it doesn't result in good things.
In pit road, you kind of have a better entry.
Yeah.
More room to brake, if that makes sense.
We've seen crashes going to pit road like in 2017 when Jim McMurray's going to pit got nailed by someone and then collected Jeffrey Earnhardt and Mark Thompson in 2017.
Yeah, that was a big hit. I do remember. But I will tell you, Talladega is also a track where a lot of upsets can happen with, say, David Reagan in 2013 getting Front Row Motorsports a 1-2 finish.
You're right. Starcom's going to get their first win at Talladega. And Chad Finchup's going to win the championship. I still stand by.
I want to say, though, it opens the door for teams to get up there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this at Daytona last year, but Levine Family Racing got 2 fourth-place finishes in a row. Michael McDowell, Casey Kane, and McDowell himself led a good number of laps in the Daytona 400 last year.
Yeah.
Driving for Front Row Motorsports, which he still is in there for. I wouldn't be surprised at the same kind of performance at Talladega for that team. I think David Reagan will have the upper hand for Front Row because that experience. He also won a Nationwide Series race 10 years ago for Jack Roush, which would actually be his first ever NASCAR win.
He also won at Talladega in 2013 for Front Row, leading over.
His lone Cup win for Roush was at Daytona.
Yep. Then he won it. The first one for Front Row came at Talladega over his teammate David Gilliland in 2013.
Alrighty. So there's that. And we gotta talk about the wrecks, the big ones. This track is unforgiving. If you go out of line, if you come in with too much momentum, you push in a funny angle in the corner, you will pay the consequences, and the consequences are severe at Talladega. What does a driver need to do to avoid a situation like that?
I think, usually people stay in the back, most of the day. I've seen drivers, stay in the back, usually, not, most of the race until, because being in the middle of the pack is not the best area because
keep talking.
We've seen big crashes. In 2016 in turn 1, we had a big wreck between Paul Menard and Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson, and we had a 15 car wreck going to turn 1 in 2016, and took out a lot of good cars.
I'd say managing momentum is a very key thing to do at Talladega.
Yeah.
I believe you can't. I'd say, when the car from behind comes up to you, you've got to be there to manage that momentum. And also, you kind of have to stop the momentum. You got the car up here, you got to move around. You got to even yourself out with them, especially for when you're in the corner. And that's kind of how the big one usually happens. When you got a funny push like that, and because he's coming with so much momentum, and you're just trying to block, and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that, especially for the Xfinity cars, because they have flat bumpers, and sometimes they'll lock up, and you could get away with it for a little while, but if you do it the wrong way, you may be in trouble.
But also, the Xfinity series has a rule. They're not allowed to lock bumpers.
That is true, but we've seen that rule being levied a lot in recent years. So it's a 50-50 situation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's that for Talladega, and it'll be a 500-mile race.
108.
300 miles for the Xfinity Series.
Yep. That's not this next week. It's the week after because Easter is.
Yeah. This is the first off weekend for NASCAR. It's a
couple seconds. Yep.
All right. So that's that for NASCAR, and we'll just talk about the point standings so far. Kyle Busch still in the lead. We're Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin. I think the placement that Busch is in right now over where Logano is and Hamlin or someone like Keselowski is very decent. And he should be content with where he's at. I don't know how he'll finish at Talladega, but I do know that his teammate, car number 20, won at Daytona in the 400-mile race last July, Eric Jones. Can he do it at Talladega and get a second career win?
I don't know. Because there was last year Talladega race, Eric Jones crashed out because he came up on Shane McMurray and collected Kyle Larson down the back straightaway.
I think that Eric Jones' top not Eric Jones. Kyle Busch's top 10 streak is going to end at Talladega. I mean, last year in this race at Talladega, he finished 13th.
Yeah.
And he wasn't caught up in any wreck. He just
and also Talladega is hard to get a good pit. Like
you can't just get up to the front on your own.
You have to
need
have
assistance with the cars around you.
Like you have to have like a draft. You have to get someone pushing you, and you don't want to push too hard in the corners. We've seen what happened when people pushing in the corner. Like
Alrighty, let's go ahead and let's tumble the ball to Formula One and the Chinese Grand Prix happening in the Shanghai International Circuit yesterday. And boy, what a race that was in many ways. A lot of storylines going into the 1000th Grand Prix in history.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, there was some controversy going on in the race, and a lot of events happened in not just practice and qualifying, but even in the race itself. I tell you, Lewis Hamilton was stellar. He led 56 laps, never looked back.
Yep.
Even though Valtteri Bottas got the pole.
But like that turn one move, Lewis got a good run in turn one. Take him to the lead, and he's won there now 6 times at Shanghai. He knows the track really well.
Absolutely. As for the championship, he does have a 6-point lead over Bottas, his teammate, and then 29 points back is Verstappen. 31 points back and fourth is Sebastian Vettel, and Charles Leclerc, Vettel's still new teammate, is 5th place with 32 points behind. And we got to talk about this. Maybe we'll talk about it later. Let's keep on with some of the other things before we get to Ferrari. But I wanted to say that Alexander Albon really impressed me. I know he won the F2 championship last year.
Yeah.
And Toro Rosso brought him in for this year, and he had a pretty big crash in practice 3.
Yep.
He missed qualifying. He started in the pits with a new car.
Yep.
And gets the points paying position. Gets 10th place.
Yep.
And it all happened naturally.
Yeah.
Very impressive. I really like where he's going. There's a lot of potential in Alexander Albon, and Red Bull may be calling his name soon. I don't want to jump the gun on that, but from what I'm seeing, I see potential with a capital P. And
well, here's the thing. Let's not jump the gun, because Gasly and the Toro Rosso last year, he finished 4th in Bahrain. So everyone was jumping on the Gasly bandwagon when that happened, and you look at it now. He's had the finishes of 11th, 8th, and 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
And his qualifying performances are lackluster, to say the least. This has been one of the better races for Gasly. I mean, yeah, it's only 3 races, but 6th place finish. He started 6th, finished 6th. Did a pretty decent job. Last car on the lead lap. Only 6 finished on the lead lap in that race, but he.
I do see Gasly improve. I do see Gasly. He's improving. He's already miles better than when he was in Australia. But I'd say give him until Monaco or Canada until we see what he does. If it's Monaco and Canada, and he's still running, if he's still running with the Renaults, if he's still running with the Haas, if he's still running with the McLarens and the Alfa Romeos, then yeah, it's he's in trouble. But if he starts competing for podiums or at least top 5s, I think he'll be okay.
Here's the thing. Baku's going to be the test for him. This will be the first time with Gasly and a Red Bull equipment going into a city circuit. for the first time. Street course. Like I said, the traditional road course tracks. Like, I mean, I know Australia is like a mixture of sorts, but it leans more on the circuit side, natural circuit. And then, of course, when we look at Bahrain and China, but Baku is strictly a street circuit. With some tricky corners. We saw the track bite many drivers in the wrong way last year.
Bottas, the Red Bulls.
Rosan.
Molson Corner said, I would like to comment that I don't like the way Ferrari is going and even has gone in the past almost 10 years.
We got to talk about Ferrari.
What do you guys got to say about that?
Like about Ferraris, I don't know why they decided to let Vettel buy Leclerc. Leclerc had good pace.
Actually, I read something earlier today, and that actually kind of surprised me. Leclerc's been asked to let Vettel buy in all 3 races. He was asked to let Vettel buy in Australia, which I didn't even know about. Obviously, he was asked to let Vettel buy in Bahrain and China. So that's 3 races already. I mean, we already knew coming into the season that Ferrari stated that they were going to prioritize Vettel over Leclerc. And that makes sense. I mean, the established championship contender versus the new guy, obviously you're going to prioritize the guy who has a better chance of going for the title. But at the same time, it's like you can't just keep asking Leclerc to go buy and buy and buy. This is what I thought.
The thing about Grand Prix racing, and I hate to say it this way, but let's face the facts. How it's been in F1 is each team has 2 drivers in cars. In a team's eyes, driver A and driver B. Driver A, their number 1 driver, they'll be looked at as their number 1 primary driver, I guess. And driver B is their secondary driver, their number 2 driver. And I hate to say it, but from the way things have been looking, especially with the Chinese Grand Prix and what we saw in Shanghai, we saw that Ferrari has made Leclerc their secondary driver. He replaced Kimi Räikkönen, who was the secondary driver to Vettel. And I don't want to devalue Vettel or anything. He should keep doing what he's doing. But this may just impede on their championship hopes, their constructors' title, their driver's title. It all is going to implode if they just can let their hair down about this and let their drivers do what they do best.
Well, yeah, we knew they were going to do this already.
You shouldn't be surprised.
I'm pretty sure they stated this before winter testing that they were going to prioritize Vettel, which makes sense. But at the same time, you can't just keep holding Leclerc. How do you expect Leclerc to progress, to keep progressing as a driver, if he's just going to keep getting held back?
Well, about that, for at least Mercedes, they Hamilton and Bottas race at least. They don't let Lewis Hamilton fly.
Yeah, because Bottas is Bottas was like, oh wait, my ride is on the line.
Yeah. So, and also about that,
once you realized last year that Bottas wasn't really going to be a factor in the title,
that's
Mercedes really just made Bottas the wingman. Now that Bottas, from what we've seen so far, is
guys, I want to say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we not see the Russian Grand Prix? They're not afraid to pull team orders as well.
Oh, yeah, of course not. That's what I'm saying. Once Bottas wasn't really a factor for the championship, of course Mercedes was going to.
Yeah.
They were going to make Bottas the second driver like that. But from what we've seen early in the season, that Bottas is actually looking to be a championship threat to Hamilton. They're just going to let those 2 duke it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Rosberg and Hamilton was definitely an example.
Or in my short and sweet sentence, Bottas put on the big boy balls.
Yes.
I like Bottas, so I'm not going to say that.
About what Ferrari's doing, it's The only way that Leclerc could do better is if, like, remember at Germany when Vettel was leading and he crashed into a tire barrier and lost the race to Lewis Hamilton because of that.
Yeah, I'd say if we just let Sebastian do his thing, and just let Ferrari need to let them do their thing, and we'll be good.
Well, I actually thought that this was going to be like the way it was. Leclerc seems to be faster than Vettel, but Vettel Vettel is able to he has that experience like that. He's able to get better than Leclerc, but Leclerc I feel like has overall more speed, like he's able to go faster, but Vettel has the experience, which gives him the advantage. Because you think about it, Bahrain, he was faster than Vettel. China, he was arguably faster than Vettel. If Ferrari would have let him go, he probably would have passed him.
That is true. That is absolutely true. But the thing is that the two Mercedes cars have been so far away from each other, it's almost like you can't even do team orders on them. I will say, however, that if there's anything that's out there that we know, whether they say it's fast or not, just remember what happened in 2010 when Felipe Massa was doing his thing ahead of Alonso, and then you hear on the radio, Fernando is faster than you.
And then, like I was checking about Baku and stuff. There's only been 2 races there. It was Ricardo in 2017. Lewis Hamilton won there last year.
Also, they had a race in 2016, but it was under the title of the European Grand Prix.
Yeah, but like Baku in 2017, 2018 has been. It was Hamilton.
That was the Grand Prix of its own title.
Like right now, Hamilton and Ricardo are former winners at Azerbaijan since 2017. They're the former winners. So
who won the 2016 European Grand Prix?
Who won that race? I still wonder who won that race.
It was a Mercedes.
Was it Rosberg or Hamilton?
It was.
I know it wasn't Ferrari.
Rosberg.
Didn't Ferrari go winless in 2016?
Rosberg won.
Rosberg.
Perez in Force India back in those days got a podium.
Like Lewis Hamilton, I think he could be a threat.
Yeah.
He's
Mercedes is 2 for 3.
Won all races this season. They've been 1-2 the entire season.
Yeah, that is true. They owned it that year, but I'm glad the team orders wasn't really a big thing for them.
Oh yeah, because when you have 2 drivers that are equal, how are you really going to do team orders? It really makes no sense. It's like there's really no advantage.
And here's the thing, though, Ferrari's doing that to their 2-star drivers. It's not like Kimi Räikkönen's just not in his prime anymore like he was when he came back to Ferrari. I mean, it's almost like they forgot that he won a title for them in 2007, but...
Yeah, their last title.
Their last title, by the way. It's been 12 years. Still waiting.
Right. So yeah, next race, Azerbaijan, on the same day as Talladega on April 28th.
The morning of.
Yep, morning race. 8:05 a.m. Eastern time. The start of that race. It's not China. China somehow survived to stay up.
Me too.
Dale Senior is going to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Talladega.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
Raise hell, praise Dale.
Oh my god.
I blame Kevin Racing Fools for that one.
Oh yeah, there was IMSA and IndyCar at Long Beach this weekend, last weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about IndyCar. And what did we see there? And also, we had an endurance race. It was an hour, 40 minutes.
Yep.
Well, let's get started for the day prior, the Bubba Burger Grand Prix at Long Beach, round
We'll never
3.
take that name seriously.
It's the shortest race of the year, so this was more of a sprint race. That
Yep.
makes sense. But it was won by Mustang Sampling Racing, which is part of the Action Express team. Joao Barbosa, Felipe Albuquerque.
Yep, number 5 car.
I remember race day 2011 was like, they spoiled my Penske party.
But yeah, the Penske party was interrupted because they finished second and third, and the sponsored manufacturer of the race weekend, Acura, almost got it there. Castro Neves and Taylor, Montoya Cameron, second and third. Massa with a brilliant fourth place finish. But then we look on the GTLMs, and mind you, LMP2s and GTDs were out of this race. They sat out. They'll reappear next race. GTLM came down to the Porsche number 912 that got the win. Earl Bamber, Lawrence Vantour, the GT Porsche team that got the win over the 2 Corvettes. And the number 66 for GT finished 4th after not making it to the end.
Because the number 3, Jan Magnussen, turned Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, he actually ran out of fuel in the process, which is the irony.
And also the 3 had damage. You saw the damage on that 3 car. There was
somehow made it to second. So pretty much in another misfortune for the Wayne Taylor team, as well as the Core Autosport Nissan squad number 54. They both had crashes that took them out of the race. We had a total of 2 safety car periods of the 1 hour, 40-minute event.
Yep. I'm looking right now at the points. Going into Mid-Ohio, we have the number 31 Action Wayland Racing team, the points leader. The Acura number 7 is second for team. The Acura Penske number 7 second. The number 5 Mustang Sampling Racing number 5 is third. The number 10 for Wayne Taylor Racing in fourth, and the number 6 for Acura Team Penske is the top 5 for the DPIs. In the GTLM class, we have the number 912 Porsche leading over the number 911 Porsche, number 3 Corvette in third, the number 66 Ford GT is fourth, and the number 25 BMW in fifth. Then for GT competition, all the car classes are in Mid-Ohio.
And that's the next race.
Yeah. We have the number 11 car leading the points. And we have the number 12.
Yeah, Lexus is actually up in second, but mind you, they only ran 2 races.
The number 12 Lexus. Then we have the number 44 Lamborghini in third. The number 86 Acura in fourth. And the number 33 Mercedes in fifth. Then for LMP2, we only have 4 cars. This is the number 38 leading. 38's leading the points. Then we have the 52 car, 52 Pastor, PR1 Madison Motorsports. Then we have the number 18 Dragon Speed car in third. And we have the number, in fourth place, we have the number 81 Dragon Speed car.
That is right. And
next race will be at Long Beach, Mid-Ohio for a 2-hour, 40-minute race. So an hour longer.
Yes. Okay, so now into Sunday's event in the Grand Prix at Long Beach. We had the IndyCar series, and this was round 4 of the year.
Yep.
From Barber Motorsports Park last week. And I tell you what, this was the Alexander Rossi Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It was the Rossi show. He led 80 for 85 laps and started first and finished first. Really just never looked back at all.
Rossi hit the field a good spanking.
We also had an early crash in the race too, in the fountain section. Like where the fountain is, we had a crash.
It was early in the race.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Some
with another last
flowers.
Like who crashed in that corner? I don't.
Colton Herta, and Jack Harvey, I believe, was in
Marcus Erickson was in there.
and Spencer
Jack
Piggott.
Harvey, Spencer Piggott, and Marcus Erickson. Herta was in a different incident.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, he had another. It was separate.
Yeah, Colton Herta wrecked out later.
Colton Herta is basically. He's far back now. He's down to 10th in points.
Yeah.
He was up. Damn. He went from second in the standings after his win at Coda to back-to-back shotguns on the field.
Exactly. Hopefully he'll stop the bleeding when we come to Indianapolis for the Grand Prix.
Well, he's got the IndyCar Grand Prix. That's been Penske's playground. I expect either Pagano or Power to win the race. As for the 500, I mean, he's got that Andretti Autosports equipment.
Yeah, Andretti Autosport, that's their playground. And, of course, the Indy 500 entry list hasn't been finalized yet, but we're still getting a better picture of who we have. But for now, all we can do is look at the point standings after the Grand Prix of Long Beach. And Joseph Newgarden has his lead at 28 over Alexander Rossi, who won the race. Scott Dixon, last year's champion, is third. Takuma Sato won the race before in Alabama, finishes currently in fourth in the points. Ryan Hunter-Ray, fifth. And just looking on, like Will Powers tied with Hinchcliffe for sixth. I'm gonna say something. I don't want to I hate to say it, but Tony Kanaan's not in his prime anymore. I just don't see him racing the way he used to.
Yeah, that's see Tony.
Also, he's not driving the best equipment.
Well, yeah, he's also
AJ Foyt Racing. He's the greatest team out there.
Not the greatest team to drive for.
But still, you'd think he'd do a little better. And Simon Pageau is 11.
Like we have about Joseph Newgarden still being the points there, even if Rossi won. Newgarden's been finishing really good.
He's got first, second, fourth, and second, I think, is his finishes.
No, wait, let me go check.
I know he won St. Pete. I'm pretty sure he got runner-up at Coda.
Yeah, he got runner-up at Coda. Let me go check.
Fourth at Barber, because they were horrible that race, so the fact they got fourth was amazing. And
it was first, second, fourth, second. Yeah. First, second, fourth, second. That's good. Like that's really good. Like first, second, fourth, second. That's really consistent. So far, that's consistent. And Joseph Newgarden's trying to get his title. Like in 2017, he won the title.
And he's on track. He really is.
Like he's really doing good.
Will Powers trying to do something differently.
Hopefully, Hopefully, he doesn't have that slump that he had at the later portion of the season. Last year at the Road America.
It started.
He finished
Iowa, but Iowa was good. Iowa, he got second. It was Toronto. He wrecked out Toronto.
No, Newgarden, he only finished on the podium for his 3 wins. He didn't finish second or third for the rest of the season.
But he finished second at Iowa to James Hinchcliffe.
No, that was Spencer Piggott.
No, it was Hinchcliffe, I thought. I know Hinchcliffe won. Let me go check. Make sure I'm right. I have to make sure I'm right. Oh, come on.
You guessed.
Oh, come on.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Hinchcliffe, Piggott, and I want to say Sato or Dixon.
Let me go check. It was Hinchcliffe
In a
Pickett's
nutshell,
motto.
unless the
Damn it.
attacking player has possession of the puck, the goal will be waved off if the
Hey,
attacking
I'm not
player
trying
is
to
in
get
the goal
copyright
crease.
here.
Thus, the NHL
Oh,
season, and in a
where's
Oh, that's
nutshell,
qualifying.
unless the
Wait.
attacking player has
It's
possession of the puck,
oh,
the goal will be
Joseph
waved
is our
off if the
finished.
attacking player is in the goal
oh, Alex,
crease.
hello.
As
Thus,
Justin
the
tries to
NHL
find the
calling
results,
off goals
here
all
you
season long,
Hello.
even
You guys finished fourth. I got confused. I thought it was.
It's Alex. I just got him in here. Yeah, he's muted. Alex, I just want to say before you unmute yourself, this is a ongoing live podcast on YouTube. Just do me a favor, like, just tag along with us to keep the bias to the low, and welcome in Alex McLeod. He's been a friend of mine for a while. Knows Justin very well. And was part of Justin's.
Oh, I turned my mic back on and I wasn't talking. Oops.
Welcome in, Alex McLeod. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
So, your driver won at Richmond. Tell me what you saw that helped him get the win on Saturday night.
Well, he had good pit stops. And did good on some of the restarts, so that.
Yeah, I tell you. It is pretty good.
Finally got that first short track win.
Yep.
Yep.
Now they could shut up about
Was
it.
that it? Was that his first career or just Cup Series short track win?
Cup Series short track win.
Oh, okay.
Wait, it's been 36 minutes already. Wow, it's been 36 minutes already.
All right,
Yeah,
so I think we covered all the races. You guys want to get into the debate now?
Yeah.
All right. Alex, are you for or against leeching?
For what?
Are you pro leeching or anti leeching?
What's that?
Kyle Busch and Xfinity and trucks.
Oh, not sure. I know he gets a lot of wins when he is in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, I'm saying, do you support it? Do you support Cup guys going
No.
to the series? Or are you just in the...
Not really. I find they win too much.
All right. Well, so you'll be on
a lot of
Justin.
sense though, but
All right, here. So here's what,
countermeasure to that.
all right, well, here's what we're gonna do. So this is the portion of the podcast where Joseph is gonna go against Justin and now Alex. We know which side he's on. They're gonna debate on the stance of leeching. If y'all don't know what leeching is, I don't know how you don't know that. Clearly haven't gone on Twitter.
This is participation of the Cup Series drivers in the Xfinity Truck Series, mainly in the lower level divisions.
Yeah, so we're gonna
day one.
Yeah, so I got 4 parts that I want to go through in this debate. I'm gonna name them, and then you guys just talk about it. And then when you're done talking about that part, we move on to the next one. The next one is blah blah blah. All right, so first one, basically your overall stance on the subject, why you're in favor or against leeching, what do you think are the benefits and the negatives, all that stuff.
All right, we'll talk about the origin of this. If you remember,
by the way, if you guys don't know, Joseph is for it. Justin and Alex are against it.
And you know what? Not all the time have I been for leeching it. There was a time I was strongly against it, and you just have to understand the background to why this is a thing. Leeching or participation of the Cup Series drivers, that's a quote Kamikaze Games pulled up, a Cup leech. The participation of Monster Energy Cup Series drivers in Xfinity Truck Series has really been a thing since the origin of the Busch Series, the Budweiser Late Model Sportsman Division, which was the inaugural Busch Series season in 1982. It started since then and has really barreled through the years and the decades to where we are today. And I'd say the series, when it was created, has really been a melting pot. And if you know the term melting pot, like how the U.S. is described as one because there's people from many descents in the country, which form the United States of America. The number 2 series in NASCAR is the melting pot of the franchise NASCAR as a whole. You get Cup Series drivers like we talk about. We have developmental drivers that are making a name for themselves. We have series regulars, which actually isn't really the full population of them when it comes to drivers. And we have diverse tracks, and some years are different than others. In the past, we've seen a lot more standalone tracks, and we had a points paying system where even the Cup Series drivers made decisions to race for the championship in 2 divisions in 1 year. It's very interesting how the rules have come into play to counteract the participation of Cup Series stars into the lower series. And it doesn't just include Xfinity, it includes the Truck Series, which is part of the 3 major touring series for NASCAR. Justin, counter-argue why you think leeches should be allowed. Tell me what is your stance on this.
Like, about leeching, it's like the problem about it is like some races, like about leeching is like some before the rule in 2011, the Cup drivers were allowed to win a championship. Like we've seen Carl Edwards, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick. We've seen Kyle Busch in 2009, and the last time we've seen that was Brad Keselowski in 2010 while running in the Cup Series. And also, we see Cup drivers run every race in the season. In some races, like Kyle Busch in 2009, made all 35 races. That was before the limit happened in 2017. 2017, we had the 10 race limit, and now currently we have a 7 race limit in the Xfinity Series and 5 in the Truck Series.
And for Xfinity, and Trucks, there are exceptions to the rules, including the Dash for Cash races. And I'll tell you, I think some of the rules are good, some of them are not. But what if you're a driver and you're making a name for yourself, right? You beat Kyle Busch to win at Michigan. You're Daniel Suarez in the case. You just beat the greatest driver in the field, in the series of all time, to get your first career win. How does that sound compared to Justin Allgaier holding off Ryan Preece to win at Iowa, or Justin Allgaier holding off Daniel Hemrick to win in 2018 or something like that? You know, just giving an example. What sounds more impressive?
If you want to know mine, go ahead.
Ross Chastain holding off Keselowski and Harvick in his first race in a top-tier equipment since 2013 at Darlington, of all the places, before the incident, of course, versus, let's say, Justin Allgaier beating Austin Cindric, yes, and of course, Finger, but still, at Mid-Ohio.
Well, here's my take on it. For the Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch, I'd be 20 times more impressed if that was the Cup Series. Because Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, you know that they're going into a field that is way weaker than the Cup field. So that's why I don't find it impressive. Just the field in general, lack of experience. Basically, most of these guys, they're only – how many of them are in their first or second? Most of these guys are not even 10 years in the Xfinity, or less than 5 years in the Xfinity. They barely have any experience. So that's why I don't find any of the wins impressive, because it's like you're going into a field with way, 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 way less experience. So, of course, you're going to dominate. That's why I don't find it impressive. That's just me.
And it's a good point. But also, if you look at the series 10 years ago,
is that my mic?
Today.
Look at that.
I don't know.
Let's take a look. Let's turn the clock back 10 years before. when Kyle Busch won in the Nationwide Series,
Whose mic is that?
I don't know.
Let me
it was
check.
Alex. I didn't mean him, but
Okay.
unless he clears that up. But I wanted to say, what kind of Leech win sounds more impressive? Turn the clock back 11 years ago. Kyle Busch drove for 3 teams in the Nationwide Series. He drove for Braun Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, 2 cars for Gibbs, and a one-off race for the DeHaan family team, which would normally start in Park and Watkins Glen. With Braun Racing, you got to win for Braun Racing. You got to win for 2 different Gibbs teams. And you got to see the competition he was against. The amount of Cup drivers, we would probably have to race against someone like Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brad Keselowski. My fingers are going up. Did I say Clint Boyer?
I think you did.
What about a Jamie McMurray? What about a Tony Stewart, a Denny Hamlin? My fingers are. I can't even count more because I only.
Well, they're not Xfinity regulars. Even back then, they were Cup.
But how many times did drivers on that caliber race in those days than they did today? And let's face it, Kyle Busch's wins in 2008 and 2009 are way more impressive in that series than his wins in the same series today because the rules have changed.
Because back then the Cups,
the culture of the series has changed.
Because back then it was basically the Busch series, Nationwide series, basically whatever you want to call it, basically Cup Light. It was basically just like another series as far as anyone was concerned. Very few people considered it a developmental series.
It was now
that NASCAR is trying to turn the Xfinity into trucks as developmental series where young drivers get the experience that they need to move up to the Cup Series. And I think that's where most people are getting mad at these Cup guys going in. Because it's like, you're hindered. It's not 2007. It's not 2009. The culture's changed. Like, you got to let these guys go in and develop.
There's less reasons to be in the series as a Cup regular today than there's ever been. There's less reasons to be racing there than there's ever been. And you can see why.
The only exception I really have is Kyle Busch racing in his own truck because it's his truck. So it's like, okay, he pays the bills, so let him race as far as I'm concerned. Whereas for anything else, it's like I have no idea why he's still driving the 18. I don't know why. Brad Keselowski and Joe Logano, that 12 car is part-time anyway. So, I mean, they rarely leach nowadays, so it's not that big of a deal.
Well, you got to remember there's a new rule in owner's points where, and I actually disagree with this strongly, that they don't get rewarded owner's points. If a Cup Series points-paying driver, if a points-paying Cup Series driver races in that car, there's no reward for the team in owner point. I think
I agree. Go ahead.
That's not a driver problem. That's a car problem. We already solved the driver problem. Just put more limits. Don't affect the team.
All right, Thomas.
Hey, what's going on, you guys?
What's going on? Yeah, we just started the debate. Joseph
okay.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are up in the airs about having the Cup guys come down to the Xfinity and Truck Series and run. It's if the Truck Series drivers and the Xfinity Series drivers don't mind it, why should anybody else? I know a lot of drivers have said numerous times that they don't mind the Cup guys coming down and running the lower series because it gives them a chance to beat the best in the business, And if I remember correctly, there's been a few times over the past decade or whatever where numerous Cup drivers have come down to the truck or Xfinity level for that matter and have run multiple races a year, and nobody was crying or having a temper tantrum like they are with Kyle Busch.
Where are you coming from?
I mean, nobody was crying when Brad Keselowski was winning all those races in the Xfinity Series or when Kevin Harvick wins it, but Kyle Busch wins the truck race or an Xfinity race, and everybody's up in arms like saying, this isn't fair. So it's a double standard.
You're right. And I think the problem is people need to recognize that this is not a new problem that is killing NASCAR. This is something that has started since the very first race in 1982 when the sanction of the Busch Series began. This is not new at all. I don't know why people treat it like it's new, but I understand the problem. I feel like as the series has evolved, it's no longer been the melting pot of racing that it has been in the mid to late 2000s. It's now really, I'd say there's less reasons for Cup Series drivers to be in there than there's ever been. But like I said, it's really a developmental series. However, I'm for Cup drivers putting in there. What if you're in the field driving for Xfinity? You're a new guy in junior motorsports. Dale's putting you in a race, and you're side by side with someone like Kyle Busch or Brad Keselowski on the restart.
Praise hell, praise Dale.
It's like I said, nobody was crying when Brad Keselowski was winning all those Xfinity races on top of his Cup stats. Nobody was crying when Greg Biffle was winning all those Xfinity or truck races for that matter.
Well, here's my question. Was NASCAR trying to market the Busch Nationwide, whatever, as a developmental for young talent coming up through the ranks? Was they marketing the Busch and Nationwide series like that back in the day?
No, they weren't.
Exactly. So it has to do with the culture of this series. NASCAR, they didn't really have they still don't have a definitive developmental ladder like IndyCar, F1 does. They really, as far as we're concerned, the Xfinity series it's leaning more towards developmental, but it still has a big chunk of a melting pot series. And NASCAR is trying to reel it toward as much to a developmental culture. And that's what people are getting at.
What about tracks? We haven't talked about this. This is very important. I have some big stats I want to show them to you about tracks. And have you noticed the schedule in the 2019 NASCAR Xfinity Series versus the 2009 Nationwide Series? The amount of standalone events have gone, but don't forget, Cup Series drivers were still eligible to win the championship that year. In other situations like this, I want to say a few names out there that because the Cup drivers, and of course the Cup Series is more important, have to be at the Cup track somewhere else, out of town, right? They're there. They got to practice and qualify the car, right? Get that car ready for race day on Sunday. While Saturday night, they have to do a race in the Nationwide Series or the Busch Series. They have to do a race, right? Who practices and qualifies those cars? Not them. They're out of town. They've got their Cup Series programs there to be there at the track for practice and qualifying. Who's going to be there to take care of that? What if I said Jeremy Clements qualified a car for Kyle Busch, or Casey Atwood in 2009 had a shot still? Mark Green qualified David Rudiman's 99 car at IRP in 07, I believe.
Justin and Alex, what do you two got to say about it?
About that, it's like about Cup drivers going to different local, like different small tracks. It's like For me, it's like about that. It's like sometimes it's like I'm confused with him doing that because last time I've seen that was Michael McDowell racing the number 2 at Mid Ohio at Red America, and Sam Hornish qualified and practiced in 95 on Friday and Saturday at Michigan. But that's the last time I've seen that. It's like I don't know why something like that happened.
What if I told you that race somehow got rained out and pushed to the next day? Who's going to drive in the race while the Cup Series has an event? Not them.
Well, it's not the Cup Series driver's fault that the event gets rained out, you know. So how are you going to blame that? How are you saying that that's, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. What do you do? And those relief drivers, those fill-ins, I'll give you some more modern examples. Drew Herring is one of them. And I still think that he was robbed of a good career. Even Michael McDowell, and teams like Joe Gibbs Racing, he would practice the qualified car for him. Owen Kelly, just to name a few. What if that race that they practice and qualified the car for gets rained out, pushed to the next day? We got a Cup race to worry about. Those fill-in drivers will have probably the career highlight or the career make-or-break moment in that event.
Oh.
All right,
okay.
so
and going up on that fact, here's an example for what he was kind of going along, but it's not really a rain delay, sort of. Kevin Harvick in 2004, right? Running the Busch Series race up at Pikes Peak. Missed the pre-race and missed the driver not the driver introductions, the driver's meeting because he was flying in from, I want to say it was Pocono. Had to start at the rear, came all the way back and finished second, and then flew on a helicopter back to Pocono that same day. So it's you know, it can happen, but you know.
And what if I tell you Greg Biffle, a Cup Series full-time driver, won that race?
Yeah, I know Biffle won that race because I was there at that race.
Yes.
all right, so
I got the year right. It was 2004, right?
Well, actually, the 21 was Clint Boyer.
No, this was when Kevin was still driving the 2 car for RCR.
2001.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, 2001. I got my years all screwed up on that. I apologize.
That's good. That's in Colorado.
All right, so if you guys are ready, let's move on to the second topic, and that's well, this
Jeff
one
Purvis won that race. I just want to say,
yeah, you guys can go into more in depth, I guess you could say, in this because you guys already gave your overall opinion. Okay, so this is mainly towards Joseph and Thomas because we already know where Justin stands. How much leeching do you think is enough? Like, let's say, how much leeching do you think is appropriate? Let's say, for example, one race Cup drivers could go in versus 7 like we have now, or 10 like we have before, or the entire season like we have before. Like, which one do you think is appropriate?
I'll be honest. I think a 10 race limit would be sufficient for both Xfinity and Truck Series races. I think you should remove the bans on the dash for cash and playoff races and just have the 10 races total. That way you can split out the calendar a little bit, you know. Also, with that said, however, you know my stance on standalone tracks. If we bring those into play, they would definitely have a better shot at it. But I will mention though that makes it harder for a Cup driver to get there. But 10 races for each series. But if you want to be more traditional like I am, if the series should return to that melting pot culture that it once was, do we want to be unlimited or should we stick at a good limit, you know? Justin, what do you say?
Like about that, it's like I want like a limit. It's because like problem about that is like there's young drivers, like you see like young truck drivers like Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland. Like we seen Harrison Burton only run one race, and Riley Bruce one race in the 18. I want to see like if they want to come into the Xfinity series to run races, like what team are they run for? Like there's not many good teams now because we have Chip Ganassi that closed down. We have one part-time Penske car. We don't have much opportunities. We have like Ryan Seeg's team that's not the best. Like we have Junior Motorsports with a car that has full-time drivers, the one that has a full-time car with part-time drivers. It's like there's not much opportunity for the young drivers in the trucks to get to the Xfinity races.
Thomas?
All right. So, you guys know my stance. I'm all for it. The only exception to what we're talking about I feel would be when, let's say, the Xfinity Series is running Road America and the Cup is somewhere else. I don't see how. I mean, it's been done in the past before, but those kind of events where the Cup is one place, someplace else, and the Xfinity is running somewhere else, let the younger kids have their chance, okay? I mean, we all know the rule come playoff time, no Cup drivers are going to be allowed to run, which I'm okay with that part. But
most people only know what we also take care of.
The only reason why they've created all these rules for Cup drivers in the lower is because of Kyle Busch. They didn't do it when Harvick was winning all those races, or Keselowski was winning all those races, or Biffle was winning all those races. And Edwards, yeah, don't get me wrong. Edwards won his fair share of Xfinity races doing double duty that same race weekend.
Steven? What about the 2006 Busch Series championship that Kevin Harvick owned, and the 07 Busch Series style that car that was never looked back on?
Again, nobody was complaining.
There was complaints. You can actually look on Racing Reference, but maybe with the presence of social media, we see more of an initiative being taken than we have been in the past. What do you say?
It's okay. It has to come down to money and sponsorship, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you get these Cup guys that are coming down to these lower levels, running these races, bringing in the money, bringing in the sponsorship for these lower level cars and teams. Granted, Kyle's driving his car for Gibbs and everything, but you're still bringing in that attention and sponsorship money that wouldn't be there if these guys were not coming down and running these races.
Well, yeah, that goes back to the culture. All goes back to the culture of the Xfinity Series, Galaxy Xfinity Series.
Yes.
Like I said before, it's like, and just because we already brushed, we already talked about the topic of the amount of leeching. I'll say this before we. Actually, no. I want to say what I'm going to say for the last topic. So I'm going to say. So we're going to move on to topic 3, and this should be interesting. So everyone talks about the Cup guys going down to the lower series. You know, Kyle Busch and the Trucks Xfinity, Kevin Harvick even going down to ARCA in some stance. But this is something I rarely see anyone talk about. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
I didn't see anybody complaining about when Kevin ran the K&N West race down in Orange County.
I saw a ton of complaints, but I saw a ton of complaints. But speaking of which, what about Xfinity and truck regulars going down to ARCA and K&N? Should those get the same treatment as the Cup guys going to Xfinity and trucks? Or
No.
is that just like a completely different reason?
No, absolutely not. They shouldn't get the same treatment because they haven't made it to the Cup level yet. They're still trying to prove themselves, and them running those ARCA or Xfinity races, or not the Xfinity races, excuse me, running the K&N and the ARCA and things like that, it's giving them more exposure to the sport.
And that's what they need.
Dad, all that's like everything on the ground, and you just said no.
They seriously need more experience on the racetrack, and I gotta say that it's a good point, Thomas. However, does it really affect the drivers around him? Let's say Noah Gragson brings himself into the Snowball Derby and wins it like he did. You know, KBM invested in the late model department, and I'm just throwing in an example. Rafael Lessard, you know, those drivers come in, and just to name a few, we'll say maybe Stuart Friesen, you know, he's a dirt veteran. He races in these late model dirt races every time the weekdays. You know, how is that problematic? I mean,
okay, here's going off of what you were talking about with Stuart Friesen. All right, he ran the season opening events down in Orange County and won the first big block modified race of the season. But you didn't see any cry saying, "Oh, well, he's running the truck series. Why is he running dirt?"
Well, he is not Kyle Busch, and he is not in the top levels. And by the way, I think we shouldn't really. I don't know if it's right to put them in the same sentence as those types of leagues, in the same sentence as Xfinity and trucks. I mean, mind you, they are national series for a reason. They're called that for a reason. They're not regional series events like the East Series, the West Series. It's a whole different ball game, I'd say. When we're talking about a Cup driver racing into the modern Xfinity and Truck Series events that we have today. But Justin, I want to say, what do you think when you see someone like Harrison Burton winning the ARCA season opener in Daytona? How does that make you feel?
For me, it's like, I don't like, about that, it's like, for Harrison Burton, he should have got experience because never ran a restrictor plate in the truck series because he's going full time. It's like, we've seen that with Jet Burton in 2014, driving the 13 for ThorSport in the ARCA opener at Daytona. We've seen Chase Elliott do the same thing in a 9 car at the ARCA opener at Daytona because he was going to run the Xfinity. Like, we've seen that happen, Xfinity drivers and Cup drivers. Like, we've seen Xfinity and truck drivers go into the ARCA race to get experience through. Like, we've seen Christian Eckes, but he's full-time in ARCA. Like, he ran the truck race at Daytona, but, like, Harrison Burton won the ARCA race, and he was running the truck race full-time. Same thing with Todd Gilliland. He was running the ARCA race for experience at Daytona.
Exactly. And is there really something wrong with that? I mean,
Like,
I feel like they're put in the right position.
look, about that, it's like they're young. Like 18 years old, it's like Todd Gilliland only ran Talladega in 2017. In 2018, Harrison Burton never ran a restrictor plate. So that was the difference. So that was Harrison Burton's first plate track at Daytona. So it's quite different seeing him drive that truck. It's like he's only ran every other track, Harrison Burton, and no restrictor plate because he was not 18 yet. So
Yeah,
he had,
and you do need the experience as much as you can. You got to get prepared for the big leagues.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, how do I say it? It's like what if that 21 team at Bristol put someone like Kaz Gralla in there for the K&N races, not Sam Mayer. And Sam Mayer somehow doesn't win the race. Well, actually, wait, my bad. Kaz Gralla wins the race, and Sam Mayer doesn't. Because he didn't race. Is that supposed to be unfair?
What about Kaz Gralla? It's like, for me, it's kind of unfair because like Kaz Gralla, he already ran races at Bristol and trucks, and the Xfinity series. It's like Sam Mayer is trying to make his name for himself.
What if your name's Kyle Benjamin?
Kyle Benjamin, like about Kyle Benjamin, he doesn't run a lot of races. He ran a couple for JGR last year, and he also ran some in 2017. It's like he only ran ARCA. He ran ARCA for a while. But about him, he should get some opportunities because he has no rides. He's not racing currently. Like I don't see Kyle Benjamin race a lot now. He only races doesn't race in like NASCAR. I've not seen him race.
That's true. And maybe someone like him's got to get in a ride. You don't want to prevent him from going. And like, I know it's not the easiest for him to get like out there. Like, Brett Moffitt's a good example how he had, and I know this isn't related to like the regional touring series that we talk about, but like in the national levels, how Brett Moffitt had to, he went from racing select schedule for Michael Waltrip Racing, getting top 10 here and there in a Rookie of the Year award in 2015, to having to be out of a ride right away and not anywhere to go. Joins a declining Red Horse Racing team in the truck series. Gets the team as a whole collapses. Not even halfway into the 2017 season, as literally none of their trucks had sponsorship at all.
Yeah.
And afterwards, Moffitt's out of a ride again. He joins Shigeru Hattori Racing and Ryan Truex leaves. And I actually called it. I said, if you put Brett Moffitt in that team and if they can somehow make it the whole season, they will win the championship. Look what they did.
Yeah, it's just
They went
about
from
that championship wasn't it like the
2017.
legit version? Like if there's no playoffs, it would have been Sauter, the champion.
True, but still, it's a championship. And I know it's unfair that some drivers, with the money, they could get in faster than others, or maybe it's just the glass ceiling of NASCAR that we have these days.
Oh yeah, just in case you guys want to know, Thomas had to leave because his wife was calling him, and why Alex left, I have no idea. So
Yeah, Alex had to go.
just in
Oh,
case.
he said he doesn't want to say trucks he doesn't want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. About Brett Moffitt, his situation was he was in 2014 he made his Cup debut, driving the 66 for and Identity Ventures Racing, owned by Jay Robinson. And then in 2015 drove some races in the car number 55 for Michael Waltrip. Then when David Reagan took over, he drove the 34 for front row because Reagan was in the 55. And yeah, also Buescher was also running 34. But then after right now, Brett Moffitt, after getting out of Hattori because you had Austin Hill racing for a bad team. He has sponsorship from United Rentals, and then now Austin Hill took over his truck. Well,
off the bat, they won.
Also Brett Moffitt took over the 24 truck. of Justin Haley. He took over Justin Haley's ride because, Justin Haley moved up to the NASCAR Xfinity Series for college racing. Brett Moffitt basically took over his truck. And so far, Moffitt's not been doing bad this season so far, except he crashed at Daytona. That's the only crash he had. Every other race he's finished in it.
Yeah.
All right.
Good point.
All right. So you guys good on the whole Xfinity truck regulars and lower series discussion? You got more to add to the topic?
Like I've seen, I remember Noah Gragson that drives in the truck series. Last year he drove the number 98 at Watkins Glen, the K&N East race. And also Brett Moffitt was driving a 1 for Hattori in that K&N East race at Watkins Glen for, I don't know what's the reason for.
Well, hey, think about it. In less than a month from then, they have an important race at Canadian Tire, and that's a road course. And isn't there a better way to get road course experience than being on one yourself?
Oh, I don't know why, because I thought it was for me, I was thinking about that track. It's like Watkins Glen and Canadian Tire are two different types of tracks. They're not the same. They're road courses, but not the same layout, not the same characteristics. They're not the same at all. They're not similar tracks. Watkins Glen is 2.45 miles. Canadian Tire is 2.49. But Canadian Tire has 10 turns and 7. It's the last corner is both right-handers but different types. And, the tracks are different. It's and also the cars are different. An ARCA car, a K&N car, less horsepower. Truck, more horsepower than K&N. Everything's different than compared to a truck and a K&N
horsepower
car.
the trucks have.
The trucks has more horsepower than the K&N car has not much because it's still a lower series. But the K&N, K&N is basically it's under the truck series. They're the fourth series basically.
Well, that's in a category of its own because we're talking about regional racing. And I want to say, you think about it, the regional series got the modifieds.
Actually, hold on to that, Joseph, because that's actually a good segue into the final topic of this debate. And this is the one where I was actually looking forward to the most. This is more of your guys' opinion. I mean, you don't really I don't know how much facts you could really put into this. Just what you think. Obviously we got the Cup Series, the Xfinity, the trucks, and then whatever comes forth is up to you, whether it be K&N or ARCA or whatever. What do you guys think? If there is to be an official ladder, what should be considered a developmental series versus another lower series in NASCAR? For me, I'd have it number 4 at the bottom, K&N. Then number 3, ARCA. Number 2, Xfinity. And number 1, the Cup Series. And that's a developmental series. That's where you work your way up.
Where do you put the truck series?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The truck series would no longer be part of the developmental ladder. It'd be its own separate series, like the Whelen series is, or the Euro series, or the modified series. You don't really consider them lower, developmental series. It's just a series where anyone could. That's what I'm saying. That's where I put my argument to leeching is for let's say it's a hypothetical universe where it's Cup, Xfinity, ARCA, and K&N. No leeching whatsoever in that developmental ladder. However, for trucks, Whelen, Euro, modifieds, all that, anyone can race in that any time because it's just another lower series where anyone could just go in. Maybe David Land actually said this in the video. The manufacturers can use those series to test their new product or whatever. What do you guys got to say about that?
I think it's great. But, detaching the truck series may have a negative benefit. However, if it's used for positive feedback and, like manufacturer testing and like maybe tire tests, then I think I'm all for it. However, you gotta leave the trucks and Xfinity in the same sentence. However, the funny thing is it's easier to get a competitive truck series contract than it is for Xfinity. Because I feel like there's an invincible line in the Xfinity series between the top teams and the back markers. Like the gap has just been bigger than ever between those two branches of
The closest the closest like in the middle is like Collinger. Now you can put in the picture Ryan Seek Racing.
Right. Well, basically just for their main car, the 39.
Yeah.
They literally have to start and park one or two of them each weekend just to keep the fundings for the 39 going. And by the way, when people deny, I know this is off topic, but when people didn't like diss the idea of starting parks, look at where it brought RSS racing. All those years of racing mid to in the back of Xfinity and the Nationwide, the truck back in the Camping World Truck Series days, they were back markers. And when you start and park, this is not what they want to do, but it invests money on them. You look at Nemco; they do this. They do this these days. Joe Nemechek will usually he'll just race Daytona, and then for the other ones he'll start and park and to help support the 8 truck. There's nothing wrong with it. If you gotta fund your resources, go for it.
What do you got to say about that, Justin?
For me, about like star parking, it's like
Well, that's Star Park.
like about stuff like that.
Developmental, like your own developmental ladder, I guess, for NASCAR.
For me, it's like another series that I've seen about developmental is the Penny series. We've seen Alex LeVay that drove the 32 for Go Fast Racing with crew chief Mario Gosselin, won the championship. So Mario Gosselin, 2018, decided to put Alex LeVay driving the 36 in the Xfinity series because Mario was his crew chief in that series.
And Mario's Kane himself.
And about that, it's like the Penny series could be part of it because I've seen some truck drivers, especially Noel Gragson, ran last year's Penny race, the first race of the season, driving for DJ Kennington's team, the number 28 Dodge at Canadian Tire for Experience for the the Penny series. We've seen different drivers going in the Cup Series or any series. Like we've seen Gary Clute drove for KVM in the 51 at 2016 there. We've seen Gary Clute, Alex LeVay move up from that series. DJ Kennington came to run races. Alex Tagliani also from that series. We've seen different drivers racing road courses or any tracks from driving from the Penny series.
Yes, that makes sense. But like I said, it should really just be off preference. Most of the time you come down and race, it's just a one-off.
So if you guys had to have your own here I got 2 questions. Number 1, should NASCAR have a developmental ladder, like a true developmental series ladder to make it to the Cup Series? And if they should, number 2, which series should it consist of? Obviously, I gave my take on it. So what are your guys' take on it?
I think not. And here's the reason why. Do you remember a driver, a very successful driver? He's probably one of the best race car drivers of all time. His name is Juan Pablo Montoya. If you make everybody come through a developmental ladder versus an experienced driver from another discipline of racing coming in and immediately finding success like Montoya did, then what's the purpose?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily have to be the case. I mean, you can look at Robert Wickens with IndyCar. He didn't have to go through the Indy Lights. He didn't have to go through the IndyCar ladder. He came from what?
And he did great.
Exactly. So you don't necessarily have to go through the ladder. Obviously, like I'm not saying that's necessary. I'm just saying like let's say people who are solely like into stock cars. I'm not saying like people who are coming from IndyCar, then they want to go into NASCAR, or vice versa. I'm saying like kids who want to get into NASCAR,
Yeah.
like specifically. Like let's say, for example, you got like an 8-year-old, or you got like a 13-year-old, and they're saying, okay, I want to get into racing. When they turn 15 or whatever, they start at K&N, and then as they get older, they progress and progress and progress to like an actual developmental series ladder. Honestly, if NASCAR really wants to do that, just copy Indy Lights.
But also for open wheel racing, you have other places though. You could go through F2. You can, what do you have? Was it Star Mazda or something?
Yeah, they got Mazda Pro, I think it is. I don't know. I don't even know how many series there are. I know.
Formula Ford. That's
yeah,
what
there's yeah.
What was it? Skip Barber Racing School or something like that?
Something like that.
I know that's very popular. Just trying to name a few out there.
Justin, what's your take on it? Like, should NASCAR have a developmental series, like a developmental ladder?
I don't think we can get them right now.
All
right. Justin, are you there, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? You think NASCAR should have like a developmental series ladder? And if so, what should the series be?
Like about that, like I would agree with the developmental ladder. It's like about me, I would start with K&N because it's like 15-year-olds. Then I guess like starting 2020, ARCA, that's going to be 18 years old. Run ARCA, and then you could go to the Truck Series to get a feel because there's some Cup tracks and Xfinity tracks in there. Then move up to Xfinity Series, and then to the Cup Series. Like, because there's some like, because like the Can-Am Series, it's like 15. Then 2020 rules as next year, it's gonna be 15. ARCA is gonna be 18 because before ARCA was 15, but for restricted place was 17. Every race is 18, and then the all trucks Xfinity Cup is 18 years old now for every track, starting in 2020, the next year.
All right, so your ladder would be K&N, ARCA, Truck, Xfinity Cup.
Yeah.
And Joe, did you ever say what your ladder would be?
I would just say, like, aside from the three main series, Cup, and then below you have Xfinity or Trucks, and then probably ARCA, the new ARCA series that will be in 2020 or 2020. I'm getting the year wrong. I'm so out of it. But
you there?
Yeah. My mind's going places that are not where I want them to be. But yeah, I would say like below the Can-Am series, then just go regional. Whether it's below the ARCA series, I might just go regional. Whether it's Can-Am series or are we talking about the Cars Late Model Tours or the CRA Super Series? I'm just throwing out there. Even the dirt levels. You got to remember there is professional dirt racing and USAC and the World of Outlaws. It's just saying out there, people come from those ranks too. Kyle Larson, Tony Stewart, just name a few. Christopher Bell is another good example. He didn't need the K&N series to get to where he's at today. But yeah, I think it really should be up to the driver's discretion. But if there's a ladder, I'd say below the top three series, we would talk about the ARCA series. the East and West series, depending on preference. I feel like the Mexico series and the Penny series need. I mean, Mexico series in recent years haven't done as much of an influence as the Penny series has to NASCAR. I'd say the last cases of that really has just been two drivers that come to mind. Herman Quiroga in the early 2010s, and then, of course, the mid to late 2010s with Daniel Suarez, who would eventually win an Xfinity championship.
All right.
I'd say they come in various ways.
And obviously, you guys know my ladder. It would be K&N, ARCA, Xfinity, then Cup. And I just make the trucks. And what I do is I promote like trucks, Wheeland, and modifieds. Like I try to promote them more as like you want to see everyone in the series go at it. Come watch the truck race, as opposed to just like basically it's like, oh, you want to see the young guns take on the young and experienced guys in these developmental series, take on the big guys in the Cup series. Well, tune in to the truck series. That's what the truck series can be used for. The truck series, I think, has a lot of potential to be used for other things.
Get a feeder series. Yeah,
exactly.
I think it would work.
Exactly. And I said this with the last topic, but this topic, I just thought of this one right now. So on the leeching, I don't know how much this has to do with leeching, but what are your guys' thoughts on drivers leaving the Cup Series to go to lower series? Elliott Sadler is probably the best example.
Yeah.
Well, when we talk about Elliott Sadler, you got to remember he did not have the most successful Cup career. It began in 1999 with the Wood Brothers and barreled on through Robert Yates Racing, where he had his only 2 wins of his career. And then it morphed into Evernham/Richard Petty because they merged. Sadler was in trouble with his career. He was in a point where if something doesn't get corrected, and I mean like corrected now, I'm in trouble. So what does he do? He and Kevin Harvick work together and make a deal. Let's do some truck races in 2010. He wins the inaugural Pocono race and gets signed with him / RCR, because they would eventually phase out into RCR solely in 2012, to race in the Nationwide Series. And Elliott Sadler almost won the season opener in the Truck Series that same year, getting past Michael Waltrip, to name a few. He won some races, and he almost won the title in both seasons. Sadler was back in his prime. This was an Elliott Sadler that we've never seen before. And it seemed like every year since 2011, when he made the return to racing full-time in the number 2 series, that he had a fair shot and a good chance to win the championship. Not one of them went successful. I thought it was right for him.
So that's your all right. Well, what about like other drivers?
What about other drivers? And that's where I'm going to go. For the truck series, we see a lot more presence on that. And you got to remember, it kind of started where, and I'll throw in a great example, Joe Ruttman. Joe Ruttman's NASCAR Cup Series career went winless. From his debut in 1963 to his last Cup race in Rockingham 2004, he never won a race. He may have got top ice. He was in always subpar equipment. But when the inaugural Truck Series came around, it was Joe Ruttman who almost won the championship that inaugural year. We've never seen this come out of a driver like Joe Ruttman. He surprised a lot of people. And then Jack Roush hires him. And although he never won the title, I think he won 16 times in the Truck Series. Always ran up front. He's always in his prime. This guy was a late bloomer in his mid-50s. And I think he won the 2001 truck race at Daytona. Just thinking about it. Some people are late bloomers. And how about a more interesting one? Johnny Sauter. Johnny Sauter was an RCR prospect in his maiden years. It didn't work out. He tried saving his career with a return 2 years returning to the Busch Series. One with James Finch, and he got a win in Milwaukee, and the other with Gene Haas in 06. He actually raced with his brother Jay in that same series, but Jay Sauter never really went successful, although Johnny got back into the Cup Series with Gene Haas in 2007 before getting released. And then ThorSport hires him in the Truck Series in 09. And guess what? Sauter's back. His mojo's there. This is what we haven't seen out of him since the Busch Series in the early 2000s. And guess what? We go 7 years later, he wins his first NASCAR championship in the 2016 Truck Series. We look at Ron Hornaday, who is the second most winningest Truck Series driver and held the record for most wins until Kyle Busch in 2019. Ron Hornaday Jr., he's a West Coast driver. What he's had 4 championships? Is it 4? Most in the Truck Series? I know he owns it.
West 4 championships?
Ron Hornaday.
Ron? I don't know. Go check.
Yeah, he's got 4.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has 4.
Yeah, he tried making a name for himself in the Cup Series. It didn't work out. He was just much better off racing in the lower levels, and especially for the Truck Series. Hornaday was a guy that you don't want to have in your rear mirror. He'll get by it fast. He knows how to put a line going out there, racing line. He's the kind of driver to find a racing line, like right off the bat. When I remember watching him race, his last race, of course, was the Cup Series 2015, and then since then he's pretty much retired. I throw in Tom Bodine as another example, because Tom Bodine never really made it in the Cup Series, unlike his brother Jeff and the New England native. Wait, is it New England or New York? It's Northeast. I know he's from there.
I think it's New York.
I know one of the maybe it's Vermont.
Let me go. I know that.
My
Jets
secret
from New York.
from there.
Let me go check. Come on. Todd. Oh. Todd Bodine is from New York.
Yeah, I figured.
Chemung, New York. Yeah, he's from New York.
I was thinking Kevin LePage because he's from Vermont, but yeah, he's always been looked like secondary to Jeff Bodine.
Yeah.
And then we see him in the Truck Series, and this guy blossoms. He gets Toyota their first ever championship in NASCAR in 2006 for the Germain team. And then, of course, gets another one in 2010 for them. And this guy was stellar on all the super speedways from a certain point in time. You couldn't beat Todd Bodine even if you tried. And he's through with his Cup days by now. He drove for Carl Haas and was pretty much not known for really anything besides making the Daytona 500 and crashing at Michigan with Kenny Wallace. But But yeah, I will say he came back, and you're still in your years, you're still in your prime. You want to get your career flipped, and the reset button gets pushed, and you have someone like Elliott Sadler when he drove that one main financial car, Ron Hornaday in the trucks, Joe Ruttman in the truck series is a great example. What about Mike Skinner in his last years in that?
Oh yeah, Mike Skinner.
Sure, he was the first truck series champion, but he didn't really go far in the Cup Series, did he?
He drove. I know. I remember when he drove the 60 for Germain Racing. He drove a 60 car, the second Germain car. He's driven a 32 for Go Fast Racing.
Well, Mike Skinner, when you drove for RCR.
Yeah, he's driven for other teams that were not good teams.
And then Larry McClure, and then he just dwindled out. So Toyota, it was Bang Racing, I believe, 42, brought him in 2004, and then Bill Davis got him in, I think it was 05.
What team? Bang Racing?
Yeah, it was the 42 Toyota.
Oh yeah, that team.
Yeah, Toyota's maiden year. Skinner was just, we could see he had it in. Although he never won a championship since returning in the Truck Series. It really proved to show that he still had it in him, and I feel like he made the right decision. I think he knew when it wasn't right. Just okay. I want to turn something around, so put me in a truck, Bill, and hire me in. And Bill Davis takes him. And the highest he had in the points was the third place in 2009. In fact, he drove for Randy Moss in that one. But actually, my bad, he got second. It was in 07 because he lost to Hornaday. Hornaday won the title that year. Of course, his teammate then, Johnny Benson, won it in 08. And there's another driver, by the way, who came back to the Truck Series. Johnny Benson only had one Cup win to his name in the Rockingham race back in 02. He is a Busch Series champion, a Cup Series Rookie of the Year, but in the Truck Series, he wanted to do something to keep his career going. Think about the number of races in the Cup Series. That's a lot. 36 is 35, 36, 36 now. Too many. The Truck Series is usually around 25 to 30 races a year, depending on the season. If you call it, Armani, a developmental series, then what do you get in those days? Maybe the series has changed. But it's a really good debate.
All right, so I think we covered everything. You guys got any final points you want to say?
Let's talk about the next few races, just for a little bit.
Right.
What do you expect to see at Baku?
I don't know. I think we'll see some decent racing there. Hopefully, the Ferraris and the Red Bulls could show up to challenge Mercedes for the win. I think this was one of the races I had Leclerc circled it. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling of mine. So don't be surprised if Leclerc is up there. But yeah, I think we'll see. Hopefully, we'll probably see another Mercedes win. In all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Lewis Hamilton won there last year, and they have the most momentum out of every single team. But I don't know. A gut feeling mine says Leclerc is going to take it.
I mean, listen, Mercedes, do you think they're going to let the two drivers duke it out again?
If Bottas could keep up the pace, if Bottas is like down to like fourth or fifth, then I don't think so. But if Bottas is like up there with Lewis Hamilton, then yeah, I can see it happening.
Yeah.
Especially because of how good he's been so far this season.
Yeah.
He started strong, and he's only down by 6 points from Lewis Hamilton.
Like, the only thing is I just don't want to see another. If they do, I don't want, like, if Ferrari does the same thing with letting Sebastian by if Leclerc's ahead.
Yeah, let's see if they do, it'd be the fourth race in a row where they do that.
Yeah, that's like stupid.
Leave Leclerc alone for one race.
And leave all the drivers alone. I'd say it's time to get the heads straight. Red Bull. This is a track they won to forget last year.
They won with 2017 and with Daniel.
However, 2018 it was as disastrous as could be when Verstappen and Ricciardo got into each other and they both ran. But I do think Gasly's put to the test. Like I said earlier in the show, he's got to get it right. He's got to get it going.
About Pierre Gasly, it's
Cruise
pressure.
time is over.
It's pressure replacing Daniel Ricciardo. It's pressure, basically.
Yeah, and I think the pressure's cooking, especially since we're headed to our city circuit for the first time in 2019. As for the other few races coming up, Talladega, let's talk about what we expect to see for the ARCA series, which, by the way, was not much of an event, but it happened at Salem. It was won by Michael Self. Only 19 cars entered, one withdraw. That was Christian Eckes. But moving forward, we go to Talladega, where it's a more bigger race for the ARCA series.
Yeah.
And just 200 miles?
Yeah, 200 miles, 76 laps.
Right. It should be a quick, easy race. Just avoid the big wrecks.
We had crashes last year, remember that?
Yeah.
Chase Curry and we had crashes last year. We had a side-by-side. We had a photo finish. Dane Smith edging out Joe Graf Jr. for the win. Like, that ARCA race last year. Like, we had beautiful battles.
Oh, yeah. And unfortunately, on the dark side of it, it was the tragic accident on the road for James and his son, James Jr. Hilton. They were both killed in an accident. It's going to be 1 year since both of them lost their lives. The 1966 runner-up and Rookie of the Year, the Winston Cup, or back then, Winston Cup Grand National Divisions, James Hilton, and winner at Talladega, which I believe was 1971. My instincts are telling me it was in 72, but it's either one or the other year at Talladega. But yeah, Brad's been had to pick up the equipment since then.
Like, he won 1970, a race in 70, and won the Talladega. He won in Darrell Waltrip's first race at Talladega. Darrell Waltrip's first race, I think, was 70 or 72 at Talladega. I'll go check that. I know Darrell Waltrip was his first start when that race that let me go check what race that was. His first start was 1972 Talladega, so he won. James Hilton won the 1972 race at Talladega.
Oh, I didn't feel right when I said 1971. I knew it wasn't that.
It was 1970, his first win. Right. The race that he won in 1970, won 2 wins. 1970 at Richmond. He won Richmond in 1970.
Fairgrounds,
Talladega in 1972.
He won the Richmond Fairgrounds?
Yeah, Richmond 500 it was named.
Alrighty, that was what I wanted to know. But yeah, I'd say for the ARCA race, it's a big race. You know, some races are bigger than others in ARCA. I'd say we'll probably have around 35, 40 cars in the race. You know,
yeah,
your usual amount for a big speedway like Talladega. It's marked on the calendar. You know, everybody's got an equal chance. Just get in there, stay to the end. You know the drill. Now, as for Talladega in the Xfinity Series, I'd say managing momentum is a big key, especially with the way the bumpers line up. You know, they can get bigger runs. And when they hit you, you know, you try to manage the draft. I'd say I mean, it's a dash for cash race. Maybe no Cup drivers will result in maybe some amateurism, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, look, Spencer Gallagher won the race last year. If you told me he was going to win before the race happened, I'd laugh at you and say you're crazy. It's a place to be shocked. It's Talladega. Anything could happen. For the Cup Series, I believe we're going to see Hendrick pull through with the win. I think, to be honest, William Byron's going to win the race. Just be shocked when it happens.
Who will win first, Chad or Jimmy?
That's a great question.
Like, I don't know about Talladega with Hendrick. It's like Daytona, they were up there, but like I don't know. Like, we've seen the '88 car at Talladega win before with Dale Jr. when they're with Greg Ives in 2015, but I don't know. It's like Talladega, you never know who can win because 2013 we had David Reagan in that 34 car for front row. Somehow we won the race.
It was off luck and timing and the draft.
We didn't expect that. We thought it was going to be like Matt Kenseth, Johnson, Carl Edwards, like big name drivers.
Absolutely. Now I know this is not really in the foreseeable future because it's still like almost a month and a half from taking place, but the Indy 500 month is the next thing on the list of drivers' minds for the IndyCar series going into the next race, which is the Indy Grand Prix and the what's it called? Of course, Indy 500 month. We have big load of drivers and teams entered in, and we're still not finalized with who is and who isn't going to be in the 500 entry listed. Bump Day is going to be spectacular.
By the way, for that, I think the entry list will be near after the near the IndyCar Grand Prix. We'll know it more about when the month of May is. We're still April. Today we're April 15th. I think it's going to be the day. We're going to know it more about the day of the race, so May 11th.
Mm-hmm. But mind you, they do have qualifying a week before.
Yeah.
Will we see a big name get bumped? Yes or no?
Yes.
I don't know.
It seems inevitable. It just seems inevitable.
For me, I don't know because maybe this year, like James Hinchcliffe will actually qualify better. Like nothing happened.
This year, hopefully, he'll actually qualify.
But like the problem there was his car was not acting good. His car was not turning in the corner and stuff. That doesn't help. Like I don't know about a big name driver. I think Pippa Mann. I don't know about her making it. Not driving for the best team. I don't know how many entries are in. Because there's 33 cars.
3 at this point, right?
I don't know. We don't have an official
33 is the number.
Like, I know that the 24 is racing. The 23 of Charlie Kimball's racing. We're gonna have. I don't even know who's racing. I know that we have Alonso in the 66. Like, I already know some drivers. We know we have. Checking here, we have both. We have 5 Andretti cars. 2. We have Connor Daly's going to run the number 25 in the Indy 500. So there's 5 cars there because we have Kanon and Lays, Hinchcliffe and Erickson. We're going to have Kimball and Chilton for Carlin, Dixon and Rosenquist for Chip Ganassi. We have Boston Marshall Racing with Triple Man in the 39. We're going to have Santino Ferrucci, Sebastian Bourdais. James Davison's going to drive the 33 for Dale Coyne. We're going to have Ben Hanley in the 81 for Dragon Speed. Paige Karam, Spencer Piggott, Ed Carpenter in the 20. We're going to have an 8 car for Harding Steinbrenner Racing with a TBA driver. Colton Herta, a TBA driver driving a car for Juncos Racing. Fernando Alonso, Jack Harvey, Graham Rahal Takusa, Jordan King, Joseph Newgarden, Elio Castroneves, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud. So far. Because Castroneves is going to run the Indy Grand Prix and the Indy 500. We have Alonso running the 66 car. Jordan King's going to drive the number 42 for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing in the Indy 500. So I don't know. We don't have an official number because we still have this 8 car that's supposed to run with no driver yet, and this TBA car for Juncos Racing. So we don't have all the entries yet.
Right. But I tell you, like I said, they're still coming in.
Yeah, because we're only April 15th. Well, I think we'll know more when we have the Indy Grand Prix on May 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll know it more because.
Well, like I said, it's coming. The date's gonna come along, and we'll eventually find out.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's everything.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, you guys got anything more you want to say before we sign off?
No, it's been almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it's been a good run.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll sign off. I'm Armani DePaul. Thanks you for joining the Below the Yellow Line podcast. Thank you, Joseph and Justin, for joining on as usual. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the World Racing Media. Hopefully, I'll have more content soon. Hit me up on Instagram at Armani DePaul. Actually, hit me up on Instagram at Velocity XCC. That's my Instagram, and my Twitter is at Armani DePaul. You'll know my Twitter because praise Hale, praise Dale. That's all I'm going to say. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.